This is Blackheart's Blade, where you collect doubloons, turn them in to bombard your enemies. Now, the cannons do a lot of damage and do a significant contribution to the pushing, but because they deal a fixed amount of damage to whatever's left, it adds and stacks onto your pushing without decreasing the effect of your own pushing that much, so you do want to push rather hard on this map. Now, as always with Abathur, walking at the start of the game is for other characters. Let them walk. That's their problem. You can teleport out immediately, because if you deep tunnel right as the game starts, your spawn locust is locked until then. If you start the deep tunnel before the locust comes out, the locust will come out on the other side of the deep tunnel. So just teleport out, you get your locust out quickly to scout that side. And on this map, you teleport there, you walk up to grab the watchtower, lay down your nests, and then walk quickly back to behind the safety of the wall. This gives your team the watchtower for free. It is safe to do unless their team has a Falstad who can fly there and kill you easily, and usually will. So never do that if the enemy team contains Falstad. But if they don't have Falstad, go ahead, start out with the watchtower to give your team an edge in that early possible team fight, and then walk back, and you'll be safe. Now then, normally on this map you want to be laning from the bottom. Have your locust push the solo lane, especially if you're paired with a strong pusher like Asmodan down bottom. You want to be pushing this lane, partially because, mostly because it's hard for them to come down and gank it. They're all going to be up here for the top chest after doing that top fight for controlling these two lanes together. This one, usually just solo. You can still help out with the symbiote on other places if needed, but the passive pushing, this is the best lane. Additionally, for the mine placement, the best places for mines are to help the solo pusher who's expecting to stay up there to know when they're coming down. These vents are great. And also, you need to keep an eye on the turn-ins. On Blackheart is okay. That's going to guarantee that if someone's trying to turn in, you can see them. People like to hide in these vents, put toxic nests in the vents so they can't hide there. Sometimes they'll hide down here. If you have a surplus of toxic nests, go ahead. And then just around the sides as well for more vision. You want to know as soon as the enemy team is angling for a turn-in. Rarely will they just come up, turn in, and run away before your team can respond. And if they do, that nest there will slow them down a little. Often other things like Asmodan's globe can slow them down even more. You just want to keep pushing, keep vision there so that they can never turn in without your team knowing and having a chance to do something about it. Now, for the first tier talent, which we just got, we got Barbed Spines. I recommend always getting Barbed Spines. That stab is basically all of your hero damage. So you really want to be maximizing the damage from that stab, especially against heroes like Illidan, who are vulnerable to that. And then for the very first tier, Survival Instincts, really either Locust ability is good. Sometimes I prefer the attack speed, sometimes the health. They have the main point is that you want to be buffing your Locust, because when you get the additional Locust talents later, that will stack, and that will allow you to solo hard camps, of which there are plenty on this map. Note the BRB, that's because when someone's away from their lane, Abathur can symbiote a minion, continue soaking the XP from that lane, any lane on the map. Now you want to grab a back minion, and of course it only matters if enemy minions are dying, because if your guy's gone away, then they might be pushing so hard that none of their minions die, so you're not actually losing any XP. Now, versus Illidan, we just got... So, I mentioned that stab damage is particularly good against Illidan. Illidan is a very evasive character, and his evasion ability allows him to avoid damage from basic attacks. That's a lot of avoiding damage that he relies on, because he's otherwise very squishy. It turns out that stab, which fulfills the role of Abathur's basic attack, counts as ability damage. So it cuts through evasion, and often can end up cutting down Illidan's rapidly diminishing supply of health. So, we symbiote on it. Illidan has evasion up, but we still got some damage in. Enough that following it up with another stab finishes off Illidan. And because he has that vulnerability, try and pick at Illidan if you can. especially since he usually overextends himself, feeling safe and elusive if the enemy heroes come. So I feel that Abathur is a good choice against Illidan. Now, also good for turning away the 1v1s. Give us a slight advantage. Not enough to actually push away when they're two very tanky heroes. But you can see the push down bottom having some impact, mostly Azmodan, but we are helping everyone with the symbiote. And of course using Nest to identify. They're checking for a turn-in, they're considering hiding in the vents. And then as he comes down here, he is seen. Note that it doesn't have to trigger to see them if he just comes within the vision radius. And then once we've seen him, Azmodan knows to get back a little. The symbiote would have been better on the Locust there. You can continue attacking him with stab as your own guys retreat. But the symbiote is on a 4-second cycle, so we get to that Locust again. And what I mean with the 4-second cycle is that when you're using symbiote, like here, you want to get off your burst. You want to do stab, spike burst, carapace, stab, and then you want to cancel the symbiote. Because spike burst and carapace are on longer cooldowns than symbiote is. So when you jump on someone, let loose your burst, cancel symbiote, you have 4 seconds to look around, put down your toxic nest to avoid building up charges, and then you jump back on them and you have carapace and spike burst back, as well as 2 charges of stab. This ult, a bit aggressive, a bit wasted, but note, we got to 10 first. Using this allows us to push aggressively, show that we have all the abilities very in their face. It does put us at a slight disadvantage to the team fight next, but it meant they couldn't fight us at that point, allowing us to get in a turn-in. Now, without his ult, the team fights with all the ults a bit, on the other team's favor, same as if anyone had used their ult up in advance. But that symbiote is still there, still adding in damage, as you can see. And probably in this case, you want to keep an eye, especially on the people with lots of coins. He has 13 coins. Try and keep him alive. Largely, of course, through good placement of toxic nests, so there's vision. He knows no one's here waiting for him in the vents. Some additional nests over here would help him see enemies as they're coming, but in this case, no one's coming. Nests here would help him see if someone tries to come up from bottom to check the coin placement. Now, for level 13, we get Assault Strain. That, combined with Survival Instincts, or the Attack Instincts for the extra attack speed, gives you much more powerful Locusts. That's going to really amp up the passive pushing in this lane. It'll get even better next talent. The one talent we didn't discuss yet was Call Down Mule. Now, Call Down Mule, Satir, of course, with lots of other good abilities. While you may choose other abilities sometimes, on this map I feel that Mule is essential. Because look what's happening here to the enemy fort. You get in a turn-in, massive damage. Rarely will a turn-in kill a complete fort. Usually, it will leave some health left in the fort. And if there wasn't a giant minion wave here to finish it off, then Mule would save this fort. And it would use up a lot more cannonballs next time. So this is really a map where Mule is almost guaranteed to have some value. Of course, they have to get a turn-in. But if they aren't getting a single turn-in, then you can afford to waste one of your talents. And of course, even if they aren't getting a turn-in, you can normally help hold off the push. The hammer push up here went strong, but other than that, no tower damage because we have Mule. So here, putting on nests, just checking that. Are they turning in? You know they're not turning in if there's a toxic nest under there. Another reason now with their lane's bottom. Something I forgot to mention earlier on that is that another reason to lane bottom with Abathur is that the watchtower provides the top vision. So with Abathur on the bottom and control the watchtower, your team has a very good vision range. Now here, again, ulting on Vala. Vala is probably the best choice out of this team to ult onto because she has a lot of damage just from her basic abilities. I prefer Rain of Vengeance to Strafe, but both do good damage. And basically, with the ult, you just want to get off as much damage as possible, as much distraction, and maybe even tanking as possible, and not with that. And then die. And the squishier characters are better for that. They can do more damage. They tend to have evasive abilities that allow them to soak attention without having to soak too much damage. And a lot of the tankiness in characters comes from the talent choices that you don't get. Remember, in your Ultimate Evolution, you don't get a copy of their talent picks. You get no talents. If Arthas took Rune Tap, you don't get Rune Tap. You just have the passive heal from Death Coil, which is unupgraded. So that's why tanking or dealing mega damage, not quite so likely, but also it makes it a lot easier for Abathur players. You don't have to master every possible combination. A lot of the complexity in playing every single hero, as you do in a game with Abathur, comes from the talents. The talents give you additional active abilities, new features that you have to learn, and the more complex features are hidden behind talents. So with Abathur not having talents, you only need to learn the basic abilities for each hero. And you have to learn it well. You have to be able to get off those combos. You have to be able to hit the Howling Blast if you copy out Arthas. But it's still a lot easier than it would be to master every hero. And again, if Symbiote on, combo, off, get ready to Symbiote the next one. And while Symbiote's on cooldown, you can look around for, do we have our mines here? Yes, very good. This is well covered. Who might need help? Can we help this push up here? Because if none of the heroes need help, and you only want to jump on a hero if you feel you can make a difference, if you can start chipping down safely enemy hit points when laning, if you feel that you can help secure a kill. If you're not really going to do anything, if they're just pushing minions, or if they're not able to get off any stab damage onto enemy heroes, you may as well join minions and just help with the pushing. Just add a little passive benefit wherever you can make the most difference on the map, and as you can see from the damage numbers, it adds up. So, at this point, all that damage adding up means that the cannons are starting to work on the inner forts. Our team is free to get the golem as soon as it spawns. The watchtower here provides sufficient top vision. And here, well, I mean, they can't be turning in because of their main cannonballs, but with enough vision here, we can know they aren't just waiting to turn in as soon as it's done, because remember, they haven't gotten a turn in. It's still pretty cheap. It would make sense for them to try and do it. They may not have the coins, and they may be a little over-aggressive. But here we go. We've got Golem starting a team fight, and then going in, getting off that combo. And here the team's a bit split up, but I'm already in ult form. Can't really help anyone there. Just need to go kill people. Like this Odin who's about to get away. Now, one thing to keep in mind, an important feature on Blackheart's Bay, when Abathur collects coins in his Ultimate Evolution form, they're Abathurs. They're not the clones. So when the clone expires or the clone dies, Abathur keeps the coins. And he keeps them tucked away safe, in this case, in the folds of his jammies, where the enemy can't get to them. So, got some coins, feel free to continue suiciding. The coins are safe and snug up here. And then you can turn in whenever it's safe, or whenever you have some spare time with your ultimate. But rarely will you have spare time with your ultimate. Usually you need to use that time to the max effect, and it's better to win the team fight, then it's safe. Deep tunnel in. Now we picked Locust Brood and Assault Strain and Survival Instincts. This is enough to solo the hard camp. Now you want to time it so you get your one passive Locust as well. You want to shield the first one that they focus fire. You want to try and get all target the same one, so you get the most damage out of those Locusts, because it's not an overwhelming victory there, you can see. But if you do it right, if you have that extra Locust, and if you use your Symbiote on that burst, especially if you don't need some Toxic Nest, but you can use them to make it easier. With all that, Abathur can solo the hard camp, get a few more coins, and then maybe even turn in. Here, they're at their hard camp. Our team is all up here. We can probably cover if we want Abathur to turn in. So, Abathur can walk up there. If you're doing a covered turn-in, it's best to walk up and save your deep tunnel, or keep your ultimate evolution ready. Ultimate evolution is faster than deep tunnel, and I don't think it can be interrupted. So it's definitely your best escape. Just remember that when it expires, you go back to where you were trying to escape from. So you better have turned that situation around. Here, of course, they're coming around. Abathur has just gone somewhere else to push against this. And generally, I would say that... Oh, note also, Odin's evasion can't do anything against the Esmodam's laser and stab. Very weak against that combination with his one defensive move. Now, what I was saying, up here, often at this stage of the game, if you've got your forts still around, which is easy with Mule, and they're pushed all the way in, it's very difficult for you to get a push off, even with all these powerful locusts. Try and keep out their moving and use your locust nests to clear out their built-up pushes, like when they have knights. And then, with all those cannons, with the victory in the team fight, we push down their core just at level 20. And that concludes the Blackhearts Bay episode of Ameliorated Abathur.